Hello and welcome to a tour of Audio Converter for Unreal Engine 5. Audio Converter is a powerful batch utility to perform several conversions for SoundWave files within Unreal Engine. It supports any channel configurations such as mono, stereo, surround and ambisonic files. And it works by simply selecting the files you want to convert, right-click and convert audio. These are the four main conversion settings we have available. We can use any combination of them and enable and disable them as needed. First option is to downmix, which is to convert an audio file with several channels of audio to a smaller number of channels of audio. So here we have the option to downmix to mono or to stereo. And we have an option that I recommend that you leave it on, which is that it will automatically adjust the output volume of the sound wave to offset for the difference in volume when performing that downmixing. So if you leave this enabled, after conversion you will have mono files and they will have the same loudness as before. The next option is sample rate conversion. Here you can choose the most common sample rates that you want to convert your audio files to. And you have the option to perform a higher quality conversion, which internally converts the sound file to a sample rate 4 times higher, and then converts it back to the target sample rate. So if you're not in that much of a hurry, it's always recommended to use this tool here. Then we have silence removal. Here you have the option to choose your silence threshold, and it will remove at the beginning and at the end of the file everything that falls below that threshold. And finally we have peak normalization. What peak normalization does is adjust the gain of the audio signal itself, and with this parameter you choose what you want your highest peak to be. Now this is a very basic normalization, and more importantly this is what's called destructive normalization. Yes, it's a bit of a scary term, but basically means that it writes the data on the audio file itself. But if you want more advanced normalization, you can check our other plugin, Audio Normalizer, in the Unreal Marketplace. And here it has an option to reset all the output volumes to its original gain, which is 1. You can disable it, but I highly recommend you leave it on, because this is going to set your target loudness. And maybe you have previous adjustments to your volume level so that you won't really have this target, but instead it gets offset by the volume on the sound wave itself. So I just recommend that you leave it on. And you can choose if you want to override the existing files or create new ones. And here you can choose a suffix at the end of the asset names. So let's run a few conversion tests. We'll start with downmixing to mono. Start converting, yes. And we can choose if you want to save the files or not. We're gonna go with no. Now, since we didn't choose to save, we can reload the files and return them back to how they were before saving. This is like if we quit the engine and open it back again, this is the state that the files would be in. Now, on the other hand, if we do that conversion and save all the files at the end, we can also return them to their original state by using the reimport option, which reimports them for the original wave file on the disk, assuming of course you still have them. And there we go. Now we'll try the sample rate conversion. This is a piece of music that is on 48 kHz, which is pretty standard. And we'll try converting it down to 11 kilohertz. Depending on your speakers or headphones, you may or may not hear a lot of difference, but we're losing a lot of high frequency content, which is what you might expect from a smaller sample rate, such as 11,000, which probably hasn't been used since Doom 1, but you have the option to do it. Next, we're gonna use the silence removal. Here we can see it's also a test tone, so it's a really square waveform. And you can see there's some silence at the beginning and at the end of the file. So in this case it's absolute silence, doesn't really matter the silence threshold, but just for standards we will use the default value. And in this case we're not going to overwrite it, we're going to create new files. And save. So we can hear that there's no silence at the beginning, and we can also see the visual representation. And finally, we're going to try the normalization tool. I also have the audio normalizer installed, which is our other plugin. We're going to use it to check our levels. It's -1, -3, and -6, which are the names we have. Well, technically, actually it's -0.1, but Unreal doesn't let me use point, so what we're going to do is convert them all to, let's say, -3 dB. Now we can see they're all evened out. And we can double check with the normalizer, and they're all at -3 dB. That's all you need to know to use it, but just to keep in mind, since SoundWaves are 16-bit, they don't have that much resolution, so whenever you're converting, you're adding some sort of level of noise. If you do a single conversion, that shouldn't be a problem, but if you want to do more conversions, I suggest you go back to the original files by using reimport and then perform the new conversion instead of over and over again. That's all. I hope you enjoyed the plugin, and thank you.